for the PBC on NBC press conference for the Spence Algieri show. It's going to take place on Saturday, April 16th at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. The television will begin at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And I'd like to, is David Gibson here? David, welcome. Thank you for being here. David is NBC representative to here. He's coordinating producer for PBC on NBC. Thank you for being here, David. Before we get started, a tragedy took place among us yesterday. Joe DeGuardi, who is with us here on the dais, Joe's dad, Joe Sr., passed away suddenly yesterday. Joe Sr. was a well-known fixture in the boxing community in New York for literally generations, from the time Joey was a baby, really. He fought under the name Joe DeGuardi. He fought in the gym with guys like Willie Pep. He worked with Angelo Dundee. You know, he was a real boxing man his whole life, and it's a real loss to the New York boxing community. So I'd ask you to just bow your head in prayer for a moment for Joe DeGuardi Sr. Thank you. May he rest in peace, and we will be doing a 10 count on April 16th for your dad, Joe. A well-deserved one. This is a great show. I'm really proud to be promoting it. It's the 3 TV fights are 3 contests. I mean, they're all real fights with their own terrific storylines. Main event, rising superstar, Errol Spence. I think as talented as a kid as I've seen come onto the scene in 10 years or so. I mean, that's how much natural ability this young man has. He's had a tremendous start to his career. That being said, he's never faced anybody yet like Chris Algieri, a former world champion, a terrific fighter, a guy that can do everything in the ring. Amir Khan's going to try to beat Canelo Alvarez, and he had quite a hard time, and a lot of people thought didn't even defeat Chris. I mean, that was a fight that was a couple of point fight either way. I didn't have a problem with the decision, but I also wouldn't have had a problem if it was scored a draw, because that's how close a fight it was. And you know, the fact that Errol Spence is stepping up to a Chris Algieri at this point, the fact that Chris Algieri is willing to face an Errol Spence at this point in his career, it says volumes about both guys. I mean, these are 2 confident champions, and the winner of this fight wants to make big noise real soon, big money real quickly, and that's why they're taking this chance, and that's what it's all about. Co-featured bout, Krzysztof Glowacki, coming off a Fight of the Year candidate, a fight that many people thought was the Fight of the Year, against Marco Huck at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. Glowacki is the cruiserweight champion of the world, and now he's going to have to face a man that was a cruiserweight champion himself, and also a very good heavyweight, a terrific fighter, one of the best people in boxing, Steve Cunningham, for the WBO Cruiserweight Championship. And the 3rd fight on the card, Marcus Brown, Olympian, undefeated, super prospect at light heavyweight, will face a fighter that I'm familiar with, a young man named Hot Rod Kalajic. Hot Rod is undefeated himself. This is the best opposition that Marcus will face so far as a pro. It's a tough fight. Marcus is confident and believes that this is yet another step on the way to superstardom. Hot Rod's going to try to derail that train, but all 3 fights are real competitive action fights. And once again, we're at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. There is no better place to put on a televised boxing show. There is no better place to see a concert. There's no better place to see an Islander game. I'm an Islander fan. We're doing real well right now, so I'm looking forward to the playoffs. And I want to bring up my good friend, the man that runs the Barclays Center, a terrific friend of boxing, and a terrific friend of mine, Brett Yormark.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. You know, on the heels of just a spectacular night in January, we return for another big boxing night for the Spence Jr. vs. Algieri event on April 16th, and this will make our 17th championship night of boxing at Barclays Center since we opened in the fall of 2012. And yes, we are the home to professional boxing in this country now, for sure. And it's our second Premier Boxing Champions event on NBC, so I want to thank NBC also for helping to promote Barclays Center and the sport of boxing in Brooklyn. We're thrilled to have Errol, one of boxing's brightest and rising stars, as part of the main event, and it's his second fight at Barclays Center. We're also delighted to have Chris return to our ring, where he won the fight of his career in 2014, and we expect a lot of Long Islanders taking the LIRR to Barclays Center on April 16. Marcus Brown holds the record for the most fights at Barclays Center, and I think it's 11, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you for being a fixture in Brooklyn. And even though he's from Staten Island, we consider him an honorary Brooklynite. I also want to welcome a new name to Barclays Center in Mr. Steve Cunningham. Welcome to Brooklyn, and thank you for your service to our country. Yes, we appreciate that. Thank you. And we're looking forward to having you in the ring on April 16th. And before I just kind of my closing comments, I do have a big thank you to Lou DeBell and his entire team. We've been collaborating, as you know, on many events at Barclays Center, and I've become and have always been really a big boxing fan, so partnering with Lou is just a dream come true. So thank you, Lou, for everything you're doing for us. And we look forward to seeing everyone at the Barclays Center on April 16th. Thank you very much.
We're excited that this event is on NBC in prime time, 2.5 hours on a Saturday night. I'd like to bring up from NBC David Gibson, coordinating producer for PBC on NBC, to say a few words.
Thank you, Lou. We are extremely excited for the start of year 2 of the PBC on NBC. Time flies. It was a year ago on Monday that we debuted this with the most watched boxing event in over 17 years, peaking at over 4 million people. So April 16th, we're hoping for that momentum to continue. We love this card. It's filled with champions, former champions, rising stars, former Olympians, and it's loaded. We're looking for action and a lot of rounds, and we look forward to telling those stories and covering that action. This fight will be the first of 5 primetime events for us, 11 total, 5 on NBC and then 6 on NBCSN. So I can't wait, looking forward to next month, and let's get it on. It's all about the boxers, so I'm going to step off. It's not about TV, so thank you.
See, like when you're a promoter, it is really about TV. The off-TV undercard, we're going to announce it in full on a later date, but just a quick mention of you're going to see a load of New York talent, for the boxing public in this area. So for all my friends who are writing for New York media here, you're going to see Golden Glove champions like Chris Colbert, Earl Newman, guys came out of the recent Golden Gloves. You're going to see Heather the Heat Hardy, one of the most exciting female fighters in the world today, and the pride of Brooklyn, New York. The card's going to be loaded with talent. There's a young man who's coming over from Italy by way of Spain, who's trilingual, #1 contender at 140 pounds. His name is Luca Giacone. Anthony Catanzaro, who's a real good boxing guy, was telling me more than I even knew about him, but basically said that Luca's one of the best fighters he's ever seen. Fighting out of Italy, he'll be also fighting on this card. So it's a terrific card. We'll have the full undercard announced shortly, and there'll be some more surprises on that also. So I think you're going to get great action from the time that the doors open at the Barclays Center. Tickets for the event, which is promoted by my company in association with Star Boxing, sponsored by Corona, start at $25, and they're on sale now. They can be purchased online, Ticketmaster.com, BarclaysCenter.com, or by calling 1-800-745-3000. And they're also available at the American Express box office at the Barclays Center. I'm going to start off with the first NBC fight of the night, and this one sort of may swing, so we're not exactly sure what time it will begin, but it will be on the telecast. It's a 10-round fight in the light heavyweight division. Marcus Brown, 25-year-old southpaw, turned pro in 2012. He is the fighter that has fought most often, as Brett pointed out, fought most often at the Barclays Center. 8 of his 13 knockouts have come in the first round. His 4 impressive wins in 2015 over Aaron Pryor Jr., Cornelius White, former world champion Gabriel Campillo, and Francisco Sierra. He's in with a guy in Hot Rod Katovich, who's a tough customer and had a great amateur background himself. Not quite as esteemed a background as Marcus's, but was a terrific amateur. Also undefeated as a professional. Hot Rod is 21-0 with 14 KOs. He fights out of St. Petersburg, Florida, originally from Bosnia and Herzegovina. He's turned pro in 2011. He's 24 himself, and this will be the first time he'll be fighting in New York. So it's a terrific matchup, and I know that Marcus is viewing this as maybe the last stop en route to a world title opportunity. So I want to bring up from Staten Island, New York, Marcus Brown.
How you doing, guys? Of course, I'm happy to be back at the Barclays Center. I want to thank Al Heyman, NBC, Lou, my team, Gary Stark Sr., Andre Rozier. I'm on a great card with a bunch of great dudes, and you can say that I'm ready to just break out of that prospect, label, and just, ready to display my talents with a guy that's undefeated, that's live, like how you guys say. And come April 16th, I'm just, go in there and do what I do best, and let's just have fun with this boxing, the sport of boxing. But besides that, not really here to talk too much. I really want my hands to do the talking on April 16th, so you guys can know what it is. God bless.
So the next young man I'm going to bring up is going to be fighting Krzysztof Glowacki. Glowacki, the cruiserweight champion from Wals, Poland, is 25-0 with 16 KOs. Made his U.S. debut in spectacular fashion, knocking out Marco Huck in the 11th round of a fight that was absolutely scintillating. It was hailed by many as the fight of the year, and actually won fight of the year honors from a number of websites and magazines. You can expect Glowacki to receive heavy support on April 16th from the huge Polish population in the tri-state area. You saw, if you came to the Deontay Wilder Szpilka fight in January, the kind of support that Szpilka got from the Polish community, and Glowacki probably is going to get that kind of support. But and he also, by the way, Glowacki had a record of 103-9 as an amateur, so I mean, this is a guy that can really fight, and he's going to have a lot of his people in the room, but I know that the guy he's going to fight is not going to be rattled by that, because he's fighting Steve Cunningham. 28-7-1, 13 KOs from Philadelphia. The record, as I've said many times, is deceiving. Similar to the fight he just had, the controversial draw he just had with Tarver. He's had a number of other fights where that 7 probably should look more like a 3, in my view, or something like that.
1.
You could make that argument, Steve. You could make that argument. He's a young 39 years old, trained by the great brother Nassim Richardson, one of the best in the business. One of America's finest, veteran of the Navy from 1994 to 1998. That'll make you ready for just about anything. Steve and his lovely wife, Livy's daughter, Kennedy, now 10 years old, was born with a heart defect. Hypoplastic left heart syndrome, I think it's called. She received a heart transplant in December 2014, and thank God she's doing great. And everyone's continued prayers and good wishes to that tough little girl, Kennedy. And with what Steve's been through in his career, I don't think he's afraid of any man. And this is his best weight. He's one of the best cruiserweights in the world, has been for a long, long time, and he's looking to regain what he thinks is his. The Cruiserweight Championship of the World on April 16th. So, my honor to bring up Steve USS Cunningham.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is it's great to be back on NBC. They're like family. No bias, they'll do their job accordingly.
Great to be finally fighting at the Barclays Center, the fresh, brand new, nice. It's just a great venue. I've been there a few times to enjoy fights myself. And also it's great to be on a card, a Lou DiBella card, with guys like Errol Spence, with guys like Chris Algieri. These are guys who I've seen grind. You know, I watched Errol Spence on the Olympics, you know, when they televised them. I watched him as a pro grow to undefeated professional. Same thing with Chris Algieri. We fought on the same undercards at times. And I've seen him grind and grow and sharpen his skills and become a champion. This is awesome for me to just even be part of this card. My opponent, Glowacki, you know, I'm 39 years old. You know, I won both of my former world titles overseas, Poland and Germany. Those guys, Spilka, Glowacki, all from the same team, they grew up watching me fight. I've been fighting for almost 16 years. So these guys grew up watching me fight as amateurs, and he's frothing at the mouth to get at me. You know, sometimes the meal that you want isn't the good one for you, and I'm going to upset his stomach, something serious. It's going to be a good fight because he fights. You guys know I fight. I'm intelligent. I come in shape. I don't come to play. I'm going to make every 40-year-old jealous when they see me win this title. You know, they're going to be in the gym. You're going to see LA Fitness is going to be crowded after April 16th because of the work we put in and the work we do. Thanks to my team, Brother Nazim, the Concrete Jungle. We always ready. We always in shape, and we're going to be prepared mentally, spiritually. And one big shout out to my wife, my manager. She holding the fort down in Pittsburgh, and you know, the USS Fight Academy. My son and my nephew, they're getting ready to fight the Ireland duel. So boxing is way bigger than me. These wins are way bigger than me. I'm transcending to my sons and my 5-year-old. He's throwing punches too. So guys, in the future, you're going to still see that Cunningham name. Thank you very much.
Mr. Algieri sort of rose to everyone's attention in June of 2014 at the Barclays Center. He got clipped by an animal named Ruslan Provodnikov. People thought he was out on his feet, and he got up and he gave Provodnikov a boxing lesson. And I was like, I remember being on social media and I was like watching the fight sort of and tweeting out rounds. And I was like, looking at my phone, I'm like, wait a minute, he's winning. And so when that got announced at the end, because I wasn't surprised. Because you won that fight and that was a masterful performance of boxing. 31-year-old returns to Barclays Center for the 3rd consecutive time. Just defeated a very tough Eric Bonet by unanimous decision in December. Fought former champion Amir Khan in a very close competitive bout last May. November 2014, he traveled to China to challenge Manny Pacquiao, but lost the decision. And again, in a very, very tough fight that a lot of guys would have checked out on, he ended that fight in his corner at the end of the 12th round. Beaten such guys as Mike Arnudis and Emmanuel Taylor on his way to the world title. And you know, I know when you're a guy like Chris and you're an established veteran, you've been a champion, you fought under the biggest lights, you fought guys like, you know, like Manny Pacquiao. To get in there with a guy that's perceived as the young lion, you know, a guy that's perceived as you know, the future, it says a lot about the confidence of Chris as a champion, as an athlete, to take this opportunity and to be at the Barclays Center again against Errol Spence Jr. I'd like to bring up the president of Star Boxing. Again, Joe, our condolences to you from everybody. I'd like to bring up Joe DeGuardia, the president of Star Boxing, to introduce us.
Humbling to see, as I have over the past day, that the boxing family truly is a boxing family, the way my father has told me for the past 50 years and the way he's lived it for the past 73 of his 86 years. I'm pleased that we're going to be back here in Brooklyn, at the Barclays Center with Chris Algieri. He's had this will be the 3rd great performance there. Particularly the win over Ruslan Provodnikov, where he won the world championship. The Amir Khan fight, where I thought, as Lou said, he could have swung the other way. And the 3rd win this past December there. I mean, it was the 4th win, hopefully in April 16th. Pleasing to be on NBC. national television, which is a great spotlight for somebody, particularly like Chris, who has so much going for him inside and outside of the ring. And to challenge against a fighter, as Lou had said, who's a young lion, who everybody perceives to be, the toughest up-and-coming fighter that there is in the world today, is a testament to how Chris Algieri is. And he's always been that way. When nobody wanted to fight Ruslan Provodnikov, and remember, Ruslan's much different now than he was before he fought Chris. Before he fought Chris, Ruslan Provodnikov was the most feared fighter in the industry. When we made the fight, people said, "Are you crazy fighting Ruslan Provodnikov? How could you be doing that to him?" Chris took it for one round. Got dropped twice, did what he had to do, came back and won the fight. He showed the intestinal fortitude that he has. And I guess it's in somewhat, ironic that I'm going to be introducing him right now, and I'll just say this. My father respected Chris Algieri tremendously. And every time he wanted to talk about Chris Algieri. And, he respected him for his intelligence inside the ring. He respected him for his intelligence outside the ring. And he also respected him because deep down, he had what fighters truly have. And that's that intestinal strength. And I respect him for that. I know my father, this was my father's fighter. So I'm going to introduce for you a man who really does have the intestinal strength, the real throwback to the 1950s types of fighter, and the intelligence to match, Chris Algieri.
Thank you, everybody. First of all, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Joe, for the kind words. Lou, I'd like to thank the Bell Entertainment, Star Boxing, the Barclays Center. It's such an honor to be back at the Barclays. I've had three of some of my best performances at the Barclays Center, even if they weren't all wins. It's really an honor to be back. To be fighting at NBC is an absolute honor as well. And I just actually want to go back and talk about Joe LaGuardia Sr. a little bit more. Joe touched on a little bit. I feel that him and I developed a little bit of a bond over the years, working together with his son Joe LaGuardia. And whenever I had a chance to chat with the man and talk old school boxing, we always did. I always enjoyed that. It was a real shock this week to hear the regrettable news. But I just want everybody to kind of take another moment to honor his memory, and to a man who was a great man, a tough fighter, and a very respectable individual. So if you could all just bow your head for a moment. Thank you, thank you. Now, onto this fight. It's exciting. It's exciting to be back in the main event. It's exciting to be back on a world stage. I take every fight extremely seriously. I prepare my best each time, whether I'm fighting at the main event level or if I'm on an undercard, which hasn't happened a whole lot in my career, honestly. But this is just another day at the office. I'm looking forward to working extremely hard the next 5.5 weeks and being as prepared as possible for April 16th. People ask me all the time, who do I want to fight? Who's next? Man, I have never picked a fighter. I have never picked who I've stepped in a ring with. That's not my job. My job is to prepare, to fight, and to win. And on April 16th, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I hope you all get your tickets. So guys, everybody got to come out for this fight. It's going to be a great night of boxing. Real honor to be on the card with guys like Marcus Brown and Steve Cunningham. Shoot, I look up to Steve Cunningham. I've been watching this guy since I was a fledgling pro myself. And I fought on his undercard in the past. And it's a real honor to have him at the Barclays Center along with us. So make sure everybody comes in April 16th. It's going to be a great night of fights. I'll see you all there.
I've seen this young man fight a bunch of times. I've been in the room a bunch of times when he's fought. I haven't spoken very much in the past. Sort of a quiet guy, but like one of the things I've always been impressed with about Errol Spence is his poise in the ring for a young fighter. I mean, it's honestly almost like I've never seen anything like it. It reminds me actually, and it's strange because they were completely different fighters, but from the time he was a very young fighter, Barrera was sort of like the same kind of a guy in terms of personality. Like he wouldn't talk a lot about himself, wouldn't make a lot of predictions, would just sit there and look like he was all business, do his job, and ruin people. And I've seen some of that same sort of personality from a distance in Errol Spence. 2012 U.S. Olympian, turned pro 2012, the same year that he got out of the Olympics. Prospect of the Year for 2015 ESPN, Prospect of the Year Sports Illustrated. Has had a bunch of impressive wins so far. Frankly, every fight has been more impressive than the other, which is what's supposed to happen when you're a prospect, coming along. Now, this is a big jump up, but I know his team believes he is ready for it. And to tell you why his team believes he's ready for it, and tell you a little bit more about Errol, because as great as Errol is, you fought in New York before, right? You've been to Barclays Center before. But he's not a known commodity to everybody, but he is to the hardcore boxing fan, and he is to his trainer, Derek James. So Derek can come up and tell people a little bit more about Errol Spence Jr.
First of all, I met Errol about 2007 or so at the gym, and we started working, and he's a hard worker. He has a great foundation with his father, his mother. And I think that's the key to source of his determination. Now he has a baby, which is even more determined. I think that this is a fight or fights like this, he's always been preparing himself for. Chris Algieri is a phenomenal fighter. He's a tough guy. I always reference him as a man, like a real man. For one, to say that he'll step up to take a fight like this. For two, to say that he's going to fight this fight tooth and nails all the way through the fight. So Errol is a phenomenal guy. He pushes me. I have to work out to stay in shape, to keep up with him, to be honest, because he will push me to the next, another level. So this is something that he's totally been prepared for many years. And I'm happy that Chris Algieri was the true man to step up for the fight. And everybody says that this is the best fighter that Errol's ever fought against, and that's true. But at the same time, I believe that from a technical and fundamental standpoint, Errol's the best fighter he's ever fought against. From a technical skill set, from a true welterweight, not a guy moving up from 135 or 140. He's a true welterweight. I think this is going to be a phenomenal fight because Chris is not going to give up. Everything that happens is going to have to be made that way because he's not going to give up. He's going to fight his way out. And he's here to win. I believe that. And we're here to win in his hometown. So I thank you all, and you will see a phenomenal fight because it takes a guy like Chris Algieri to bring out the best in Errol Spence Jr. And I think that he'll do that. Thank you.
Derek jogged my memory. There was like you fought on like a walkout bout. Like you fought one of the cards, like after the main event, I think.
Yeah, after
the
the
fight
main
happened, and like the room was starting to empty out, but the room was still very loud. And I turned around, I realized it was all Errol Spence's family. They were going nuts. Like, and there were like a lot of them. We had a big family, huh? Yeah. They come to the fights in force. Right. So he's not going to talk a lot of smack, but I'm not going to promise that from his family. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the rising stars in boxing, Errol Spence Jr.
First of all, I'd like to thank God for allowing me to be here today. Thank you all for coming, and thank PBC, NBC, the Bella, Star Boxing, everybody who made this fight happen. I'd like to thank Chris Algieri for stepping up. A lot of reporters and people on Twitter, Instagram, social media ask me when I'm going to step up, when I'm going to fight somebody. I want to fight tomato cans, but it's not that easy. When you look good in the ring, nobody wants to fight you. Nobody wants to fight a guy who's on the prospect level heading to contention, especially guys who's already established because they have everything to lose and nothing to gain. So I'd like to thank Chris Algieri for taking this fight, take a lot of balls, take a lot of heart. And I want everybody to tune in. Everybody tune in. It's going to be a great fight. And just make sure you get your tickets, make sure you get a front row. It's going to be a fight for the history books. Thank you.
How does that look at?
Good.
Good?
Right here.
Look up at the camera in the back, please. Okay, let's get Marcus and Steven there.